A sight for sore eyes to the blind would be awful majestic. And I don't know any more lyrics to that song.
That's okay.
But
I didn't know if you were taking your moment to like look them up or what.
no, the moment was I hit record and then the processing of the computer to like start recording. But hey, welcome to the Say Report. And that song is almost hyper appropriate for this episode of the Say Report.
Yeah.
And I say almost because it was featured in an episode of American Dad called Lost in Space.
Right.
And they were all about that being their 150th episode of the show.
Uh-huh.
When in actuality, it is the 151st episode.
Ouch.
The 150th episode is the cognitive redaction of Avery Bullock by the coward Stan Smith.
Which is actually a pretty decent episode.
I like that episode a lot, actually. The subdermal microchip that's driving him insane is brilliant. But why? Why are we talking about American Dad's 150th episode? It is because your boy Devon Decker and his host companion Sejohn Sarowick, we're in the company of gods. We joined Designing Women and The Vision Thing. Frasier with Rivals, Cheers with a Happy Chappy and a Snappy Serappy. That episode of The Simpsons with the Raging Hellfish that has too long a name.
It's the Fighting Hellfish.
It's the Fighting Hellfish, but it's like Angry Abe Simpson and his grumbling grandson in the Legend of the Raging Hellfish. It's something like that. We don't need to look it up. But this is our 150th episode of the Say Report. And Sejohn and I was talking, it's going to be our 150th episode, and Sejohn pointed out, does that mean anything?
Well, it's weird because, like, in television terms, reaching your 50th episode equals what in terms of seasons? Like, let's assume a nice, easy number to work with, 25 episodes a season.
Yeah, so it's about 2. Nowadays, it's 22 episodes a season. That's the standard.
Right.
But yeah. So it basically means that you got a third season, 50 episodes.
No. 50 episodes. What? No, 150 means that if it's
no,
season, that means that you got to season 6, right? Like you finished off season 6.
If we're using 25, yes.
Yeah. And so, like, you pull back from that, and what you're talking about is, like, for a television show, that's actually a pretty big deal. Like, making it past, like, the first season is always a huge deal. Making it past 3 seasons means, like, you're a staple at this point. But even making it to 6 or 7 seasons is, like, pretty impressive. So, like, hitting that 150 episode mark in TV is impressive. Now, you start talking about things like podcasting, and it gets a little weirder, especially with what we do. Not every podcast is once a week. Some are more, some are less. But to that point, it's so much more fluid that, like, what does 150 mean?
Well, it's a sesquicentennial. I know that. I took the time to learn that.
Well, in that case, let's fucking pop the champagne.
A big word, that's all it takes. But like Jeopardy, that's true. They do like something like 132 new episodes a season. So it's weird. I don't know. It's a big round number, right? And big round numbers are something that we celebrate.
Yeah.
I mean, there are bigger, rounder numbers, but...
Yeah, well, to that, I mean, like, to counter myself, when we hit 100 episodes, I felt pretty proud, but what the fuck did that mean? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, in terms of my argument, no, man, I get it. It was one of those things where it was more about the deer in headlights effect of you saying last week, hey, next week's our 150th, and my brain wanting to do something for it, but not being able to come up with something on the spot was basically like, oh, it's not that important anyway. What do I care?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a different thing that we do here. I mean, the amount of time that goes into an episode of television, from writing the script to filming to editing, it's, even though an episode of television, and all the ones that I referenced, I don't think I referenced anything that was longer than a half-hour show. I should have looked that up, like, because Star Trek Next Generation definitely got to 150 episodes with 7 seasons. But... looking at that, we put in, and not to shit on what we do and what we do, we put in like an hour work into each episode.
I mean, and that's it. That's if you don't consider some of the like outside of like this stuff that we do not part of the show, which I do. Like a lot of what we do outside of the show, maybe not completely because of, definitely some things we'd be doing anyway, but like part of it is prep work. Part of it is actually like I know I've gone out of my way to see certain things and play certain games because of this show. You mentioned last week you straight up invested in a Google Stadia because of this show.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean like it's hard to quantify that sort of shit, right? Like I get that.
I mean, yeah, honestly, the more important episode to me is episode 158, because that will signify 3 years of the Say Report.
Right.
But,
right?
you know, it's like... and
Who wants to celebrate 158?
Yeah, exactly. It's weird to say, like, it's 158th episode. I think that's maybe Totodile's second form, so Croconaw. I don't remember the
Is that
decks.
what you're going to title the episode? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just trying to think, because, like, Mew is 151... and then the Johto region's Pokedex starts.
Oh, I see.
So,
you confuse this with an episode of Say Report Junior.
Oh,
okay.
right.
No,
I did. I apologize. That isn't us. But I beat Pokemon Shield. I just want to report that.
Hey.
So that felt pretty good. It was game 181 for the year. So now that we're in December, this is also our first December episode. Which
yeah,
means
last week
that,
was a little holiday called Thanksgiving that I can't believe we didn't really open with, but let's keep going.
well, I mean, we're going to get into it, but I wanted to focus on the 150. I mean, I beat Pokemon on Thanksgiving, right? So, like, that, it counts, kind of? It relates to my Thanksgiving
Pokemon,
day.
Because apparently we eat them now.
I mean, they have to eat them. They're the only animals in the world.
I thought you were going to come at me with some like, no, it's a hardcore fact in this one we eat them, because like the way people are talking about it on the interwebs, you'd act like fucking Nintendo came out and put a recipe book out. No, but anyway,
they definitely eat them. I'd have a nice Miltank steak.
Some lick-a-tongue sandwich. Yeah, man.
I mean, people eat tongue, so I can't. I'm grossed out by tongue in the real world. So the idea of eating lick-a-tongue,
it's the best.
Yeah,
it's one of the best meats. Oh, it's. I never ate it before I moved out here. Like out here, it's not even a delicacy. It's just a must at a lot of places, and it's actually pretty decent.
Cool. All right, yeah. So that's it. So that's the talk of 150. We're in. Comparing it to TV is strange, but it was fun looking up all the 150th episodes of shows and seeing that a lot of them have these like really long names.
Even the ones that didn't mean to be.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, oh, I mean, maybe that was it. Maybe they're like, oh, we know this is going to be the 150th episode. Let's give it a long-ass title. They're not, like, particularly great episodes either. I will say that. The Hellfish is kind of the best episode in the 150 range.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, Rivals is the Frasier episode, and it's the one where Niles and Frasier, his name is Frasier, I couldn't remember Frasier's name on Frasier.
The titular Frasier.
Think that the other one is interested in their girl. Like, it's so farcical, but it's just like,
It's also a little out of character for the two of them, isn't it? I mean, like, I don't know. I haven't seen the episode itself, so I shouldn't. It just seems like a weird plot line for Frasier.
Yeah, it's a weird plot line because, you know, Niles and Frasier don't generally compete in that one realm. Like, they're definitely competitive, but...
In my head, it'd be fucking great to see that with Sam and Frasier thinking that each other's women are into the other because of, like Sam's dating some girl that's into Frasier because he's a big brain, and Frasier thinking some girl's into Sam because he's a big hunk. Like, that would be a hilarious episode of Cheers I'd watch.
I mean, that's an episode of Cheers.
That's already an episode. I've been watching a lot of it lately, man. It's easy to write episodes.
It's very easy.
Like, as long as Cheers did, you're probably writing one that already exists.
The thing about Cheers is also that the characters are so good that it's kind of easy to see how they would slot into situations.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that would be a good episode. And it's also, like, you need to consider, and this is crazy going back to Cheers, Diane was into Frasier Crane and Sam Malone.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And then there's also the episode where, like, he offends Lilith, so she goes out on a date with Sam. And it's like, I could see Lilith being into both of them. I mean, for very different reasons.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But I mean, like, Frasier looks like just a solid slab of marble. Like, there are plenty of times where Kelsey Grammer is topless throughout Cheers and Frasier, and it's like, well, that's a stout, sturdy man.
There's not much they had to do to him for Beast when he played Beast in the X-Men movie. He's not a small guy. I mean, let's be honest. He's a stage guy. He's a theater stage guy, and they tend to actually be pretty well chiseled out when they want to be for parts and things like that. Yeah, see how much more we're talking about this episode of Cheers than we are about that 150th episode yeah. So
I mean, in the 150th episode of Cheers, it's weird. It's that weird, like, 4-episode arc at the beginning of season 7 where Sam's in Cancun.
Is it like in the middle of it too, or is it at least like a beginning or an end?
It's the first 4 episodes, but it doesn't pick up from where season 6 leaves off. Like, it's just like Sam and Rebecca are about to go to bed, and that's never resolved.
Wait a minute. Cheers made their 150th episode into 4 episodes?
No. It starts with the 151st episode. The 147th episode is the first episode of season 7, and it introduces that there's a new owner of the company that owns the corporation that later owns Cheers.
Right, got it. Okay.
And he's like a young kid. He's like, I want to say he's like in his 20s. Like, the whole thing, and he finds Rebecca very attractive, and she's just like, and her whole character up to that point is like in pursuit of, like, she was a gold digger, like, for lack of a better term, especially in terms of 80s characters. Like, she really wanted to marry a rich man and just be taken care of.
Yeah, it's fucking wild to me. You talk about season 6 of Cheers, and in my head, I want it to, like, go HD. I want it to go widescreen. I want it, you know what I mean? But it's still only the fucking early 90s at this point, right? Like,
it's not even the 90s yet. That's 1988.
Jeez.
Is the 6th season.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're not even born yet, are you? Yeah, you are. No. You're 1 year old.
No, I 87, baby.
Yeah, so 88. So you're a year
old.
You
said it was 86.
Yeah,
sorry.
No.
Yes.
Well, 6 plus 2 is 8, right? That the math hasn't changed yet. I imagine one day it will.
Now you're asking me math questions, and I've been working all day. What are you doing, man? I'm here to talk about Cheers. What are we doing?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. But yeah, so it's this weird, like, 4-episode arc where that guy sends Sam down to work at a bar in Cancun and, like, courts Rebecca and is like, I'll fire you unless you marry me.
Very Shakespearean.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then it's like, the next episode after a happy chappy and a snappy serappy, like, that is just, it, like, that never happened. Those last 4 episodes never occurred.
That is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. 150 is a big number. I'm glad we hit it. Let me put it that way. I'm very happy to be here tonight, especially after the Thanksgiving I had.
Right, and I want to talk about Thanksgiving. So, Sejohn, why don't we start there?
The Thanksgiving that never was. That was basically my holiday. And that's not fair. But you'll understand what I mean when I start with that. So Thanksgiving Day, we are supposed to head down and see family in the southern Utah. They're not too far away. They're only about an hour's drive. We're expecting it to be longer because it's the holiday, right? We wake up and look out the window, and overnight, from 0 to fucking 60 in a matter of just, it rained. It snowed 10 inches. Jesus. And it was still snowing with a reported 6 more inches on the way. So we didn't go fucking anywhere, man. Like, we were just like, shit, we have all this food that we had bought to make and bring down. Plus, we're having a little get together on Friday. Maybe not now with the snow. So we're just sitting there looking at these piles of food that we have already and, like, our nice warm house. And we call the family and we're just like, yeah, you know what's going on up here? And they know where we live. We're on what's called the bench. So we're on the mountain, but we're not high enough on the mountain for us to be mountain folk. So they call it on the bench. And so, like, they know that it gets pretty bad here. And they were just like, don't bother, guys. Like, this is, like, we see you every other week as it is. It would be great to see you for holiday, but blah, blah, blah. They were great about it. It was like, so complete, like, written off. Like, we are off the hook. We have nothing to fucking worry about. Guilt-free. We are just gonna hang the fuck out. We even thought we were having some friends come over at night, but because of the snow, we got in touch with them, and they were like, yeah, we'll hold off too. So, like, the whole day was just given to us. So it was glorious. So like I'm not disappointed that it happened. So we sat around, we made a bunch of Thanksgiving food for ourselves, and I spent my entire day Thursday just like sitting around watching the Disney app. And then on Friday we had our friends over that we expected to. Actually had like a full house of people. We ate up whatever leftovers we had. I'll send you like some pictures, man. Like the spread was glorious. And like we just chilled out and watched Disney Channel original movies, man. So like it was kind of one of the best Thanksgivings I've had in a while, you know, sans being around like any real like of my family, which was disappointing, but I also called them and they were just like, yeah, we're probably gonna stay in too, because it was just a whole like it felt so good. It was like for the first time in a long time, it was like a guilt-free like holiday. So it was pretty awesome at the Sarahwick Vashel household.
And that sounds great. That sounds like a good holiday. What'd you guys watch on Disney Plus?
Yeah, this kind of brings me to a little bit of a sad theory, and this is what kind of colored some of the holiday remembrance for me.
Oh, jeez.
Well, okay. So, like big picture, I have come to some conclusions and feelings about Disney Plus that are the service itself fine, great. It is exactly what we said it was last week. Nothing changed there. But my realization of the Disney product and the way that they curated it before the Disney app, I think they were doing a lot of really smart, upsetting moves as a fan. Watched a fuck ton of those Disney Channel original movies, as I said. Started off with Cadet Kelly. Ended up watching Cheetah Girls. We had at some point in the weekend done Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. So we kind of ran the gambit on like important ones versus ones that we kind of personally remember versus ones that, like, you know, and a couple of other ones spiced in there from time to time. We watched a couple of episodes like Lizzie McGuire and stuff like that too.
Well, if you're going to watch Cadet Kelly, you're going to be nostalgic for Lizzie McGuire. It's just going to happen.
Man, we also watched Kim Possible because, man, I forgot how much I had a crush on Christy Carlson Romano. Still do.
I met her at Rhode Island Comic Con last year.
She's a big influencer now. Like, good on her. Yeah. Like, she sits around, does like cooking videos and stuff. Like,
I read a BuzzFeed list about former Disney Channel stars you could like hire on Cameo. Are you familiar with Cameo?
Oh yeah.
Christy Carlson Romano came in at the highest for $500. Damn. So yeah, you're right. You're not kidding when you say that she's a big influencer now.
Yeah. So they're, man, this is gonna. They're not good. Like I feel really like nostalgia, which we deal in a lot on this show, is not always kind. Like sitting there and watching, specifically Cadet Kelly was the big kind of bummer for me, and that it has. I remember it being really progressive, it being really impressive. Like, I mean, the actors that they get in it, not just as Christy Carlson Romano and Hilary Duff as the main, but you also have Sean Ashmore, sorry. Sean Ashmore as the like love interest character. You have the dad is what's his name there from Office Space and everything. You know?
I can't think of his name, but I could see his face. Ron something.
Right. Yeah. So you have a lot, like I said, a lot of really good talent outside of just the mains. On top of that, the story is serviceable. It's kind of tropey. It's a young girl who's not very with it, is sent to a military academy.
Wait, I don't mean to stop you. Do you mean the boss from Office Space or the guy from Office Space?
Not Ron Livingston. The main character, the boss.
Gary Cole is his name.
Gary Cole. Yes. Yeah, who's like, I mean, like we're talking like Talladega Nights. Like he's just phenomenal.
He's literally at everything. He is the fifth lead on Family Guy. Come to find out.
Yeah. And when he shows up, like he delivers. Like the guy is just fantastic, right? So, so I had fond memories of this movie, you know. And so, young girl goes to military school, doesn't quite fit in, has to learn the hard knocks of life, that sort of thing. But man, like there's just a lot going on in it that is also just disappointing. Like the fact that she has to go to a military academy just because her dad teaches there. She has not gotten in any trouble in regular school. She's not doing bad. I think there's like a thing where she's like failing a class.
Oh no.
So I guess she has to get right.
And
you know, military school to me, and maybe this is like a tropey thing that I'm not aware of, but military school to me were for two types of people. People that were way into the military and like this was what they wanted to do. Order was like part of their life and they needed it to be part of their life, or people in trouble, like people who had just done some shit and like military school was like a final option because like there's room, board, and then they throw you into the army afterwards. And like I get that that's really reductive. I'm sure there are people that go to those programs that don't end up in the military but also aren't like fucking like street hooligans. But I have the sneaking suspicion that if they are there and it's not because they were forced to by courts, then they're probably there because they want to be. right? Like, so this weird trope of the kid that is sent to military school for no real reason is a little weird. Like, it didn't quite fit into, yeah. So like, so from that, stemming into all of the women that are at the military school are all secretly like just fawning to get out of their uniforms and get into dresses. It comes up more than once that they want to get out of their uniforms and get into dresses, which I'm sure that that may be true for some, but again, not all. And then on top of that, there is this obnoxious fight over Shawn Ashmore that does not need to happen. They spend a half an hour establishing all of this good conflict of her not fitting in, not wanting to be there. Then Christy Carlson Romano is a hardcore bitch, but then, you know, like there's so much they can do with that. Like this girl that's in an authoritative position in the army having to act this way. So like there's so much meat on those bones. And then they just fucking come in and they're just like, you really enjoying this like semi-decent steak? Yeah. Well, how about all of these shitty ass chili dogs? And it's just like Shawn Ashmore boy fight story for just like 40 minutes. And you're just like, why did we didn't need this and I don't want this. It's just fucking weird. So like from there, you end up on the what I consider to be bottom of the fucking barrel. I have never seen this movie before this, didn't quite know it existed. I like remembered the name. Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. Have you ever done this one?
I have. That's one that I remember. I don't think I ever saw Cadet Kelly.
That's a shame. I still think, despite all my criticism, by the way, still worth a watch since you have access to it. If you've got Disney Plus, it's worth a watch. I have
Disney Plus. I'm not going to not have Disney Plus, especially since Dumbo is intact. Like, that was my big... If they edited Dumbo, I'm not going to watch... I'm not going to pay for this service. But you know, they're standing by it, so I will stand by Disney Plus for now. Especially with the reveal of, like, MCU stuff, but we will talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Eddie $1 Million Cook-Off, it's, is it Jason whatever? Like, he went on... What?
It's nobody.
It's nobody? Okay.
I didn't personally recognize a single soul in that movie.
Okay. I thought it was the kid who would go on to be the older brother in Good Luck Charlie and in Minutemen.
Yeah, like if you're talking about other Disney stuff, then yes, I'm sure that's where these guys went. The only person I got close to recognizing, I should retract this, is his friend, and the only good person in the entire movie, who's I believe like one of Raven-Symone's friends, or like, yeah, like that's the other thing that I knew him from.
Yeah, I think he plays Eddie in That's So Raven.
Oh, yeah, Eddie, and then Eddie. Yeah, anyway, but yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember like the fact is that like he's a jock, but he wants to cook. So it's basically proto High School Musical, but instead of acting a musical, it's cook.
Yes, they definitely refined the formula years later. So it's essentially that. Yeah, so he's a baseball player. That's key. Baseball is the big thing in his life. His dad is huge into it, coaches it. His brothers played it, but we don't really see much of them playing it anymore, which is actually an interesting thought that I'm having in retrospect. But anyway, so he is really, and the other important thing is he's good at it. It's not that he's bad at baseball at all. He is naturally just perfect at it. He doesn't even think about it. And he's not, and the key, and this is introduced very early on in a Save the Cat moment, like he's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Competitive about it. Like he loves just playing the game, and he happens to just be really good at it. But that doesn't even matter to him. There's a point in which his dad says to him, "Don't you want to win?" And he's just like, "Yeah, but I also kind of just want to have fun." Like that is just blatantly shown to us. It's very much a movie about tell, and not show at all. So he realizes that he kind of loves cooking. Right? Mm-hmm. Realizes that it's a thing that he's interested in. Ends up in a home economics class, much to his father's chagrin. Like he decides that he's going to do this thing. Finds out about this $1 Million Cook-Off where they give away a bunch of scholarships and decides he's going to enter it. He enters. He succeeds. He gets there. He gets, and then comes the time he has to decide between baseball and cooking. Kind of a like, you know, for a made-for-TV movie, fine. They layer thick on this like really weird level of like, cooking's not for baseball players. They never say this is a boy thing, this is a girl thing. And they very much have like girls that play baseball and there's boys in the class and stuff like so it's never a boy girl thing, but the way in which they approach it, they take that really shitty like attitude and just make it between baseball and cooking. There are baseball players that are like, ugh, cooking, why would you ever do that? And there are cooks that are just like, whatever, baseball is just balls and sticks. And it's just like, you can do both, right? Like there's some in between.
Those two things seem like two things that could exist in tandem.
And I think have in the past, right? Like baseball players endorse food all the time. Baseball players eat, like,
yeah,
obviously.
but they don't cook. They all have Susan Sarandons making them their food for them, because Bull Durham is all I have as a basis.
Yeah. So the girls were really funny about it afterwards. They were the ones that remembered it because they were at just the right age where it was kind of one of the ones that they picked up on, but it was way past like my time, your time. So they were like, oh, we're so sorry we made you watch that. That kind of hit all three things for you that you just hate, huh? And I was like, what do you mean? And they go, well, it was a bad cooking movie. It was a bad baseball movie. And then it was just a bad movie about toxic masculinity. And I was just like, yes, all around. It was just upsetting.
And these are the things that shaped the childhood of America.
But that's key, right? Is like kids, like people remember these things from when they were kids, and like to distill it down to something even less. Like I don't want you to go out and watch Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, but I think everybody should sit down and watch an episode of Lizzie McGuire. Just like cut all the fat out. Just watch an episode of Lizzie McGuire. It's a show that everybody remembers kind of fondly, even if you didn't watch it. You didn't have a problem with it. Like I don't know anybody out there that's like, oh, that show just ruined me. Like I hear that about some people with like Hannah Montana and things like that. I don't get it, but like it is a vocal thing that people say, and you never hear that about Lizzie McGuire. Go watch an episode, because it is actually not good television and really upsetting in a lot of its messaging. Like all around, I would say actually not a good show in retrospect.
Well, dude, like the rapist from Revenge of the Nerds is her dad. Are you surprised?
Right, yeah. Well, we specifically watched a late series episode about Gordo and his grandmother, and about how he's kind of not into the fact that like she wants to be her own person now that now that his grandfather has passed and she's on her own and she's got this ability to maybe go do some freedom, like to do some things that she's always wanted to do. And he like fucking guilts her into not being that anymore. And like by the end of the episode, she's like, yeah, I'll do those things in my own time, but when I'm around you, I'll fake it. And it's just like, what? Why? No, he should have, never mind. It's like, it made me so angry, right? And so we're watching this and I was just like, oh no, this is it. Like this is the reason that they used to put things in the vault. Like this is the reason they would kind of limit what got out there, because they weren't stupid. They knew what they were pumping out was hitting it big now, wasn't going to forever, and every now and then something, not everything, comes back kind of into the zeitgeist. And so it's worth kind of like dipping your toe in the water, letting that thing kind of just be out there for a moment, and then pulling it back again. So it's why you don't see like DVDs upon DVDs of all of these old shows of Lizzie McGuire, but yet you still see like collections of Chip and Dale, because all in all, that stuff still works, right?
I mean, Chip and Dale, if we're gonna be like real honest about it, things that bother me about
Chip and Dale the last couple of weeks.
That's fine, but things that would bother me about Chip and Dale is the fact that they are chipmunks, right? Historically, famously, Chip and Dale are two chipmunks.
Okay.
And they are constantly fighting for the affection of Gadget Gearloose, who is a mouse. And I know that like that shouldn't bother me on a level, but it sometimes does. Because it's like, there's a special divide. And I want to be like, love whoever you love. I really like that at the end of Zootopia, that like Nick and Judy, it's like kind of heavily implied that they might have a little romantic thing going on. But it like that was the thing that as a kid, I'm like, first of all, I don't know if they're brothers. I don't know if Chip and Dale are brothers or just best friends. Is that written anywhere?
No, I don't know what the like relationship status is actually between the two of them. I don't think, yeah.
Like it's one of those situations where I would never believe that they're related. But that doesn't mean that they're not brothers. That doesn't mean that they don't view themselves as brothers, because the Ninja Turtles, they all call each other brother, but like they're not. Like it's very obviously like that they're different, especially in some media. Like the Archie comics, Donatello is a brown turtle, and Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael are different shades of green turtles. Like to say these are not all from the same group of turtles. They met in that pet store, and then they met in the Mutagenus that turned them into, radical ninja turtles.
I'm gonna be real honest with you, Dev. I need you to come back around and explain to me how these issues that you have with Chip and Dale possibly being siblings and their love for Gadget the Mouse has anything to do with the casual sexism and racism I found present in a lot of the Disney Channel.
Okay, no. So I'm going to get there. I'm sorry. So regardless of if they're just like Bert and Ernie best friends or actual related, which I don't think they are because Dale has a red nose and lighter fur. But again, that doesn't mean anything. Different pigmentations happens in siblings. It occurs. I'm sorry. I'm getting back to it. Like
your sister's a girl.
Thank you.
I'm just saying.
Right, exactly.
This has happened.
Right. Differences occur. But it's one of those situations where it bothers me that so much of that show is the two of them, like, they're capable detectives. Like, that's the first thing I want to say about the Rescue Rangers, is that they are truly capable as, like, detectives.
Chip and Dale specifically, or all of them?
Chip and Dale specifically. Because in that first episode where they meet Monterey Jack and Gadget, it's very much they're doing their own thing, but then they realize, oh, we could work with these people, and we could be even more efficient, and we could help even more animals. I don't know, like, the world of Chip and Dale is also kind of weird. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, but there's one girl here, and both of us want to get in her pants. And it's also, like, I use those words specifically because Gadget's the only member of the Rescue Rangers what wears pants.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not wrong, right? Like, the trope of fighting over the only female character, is definitely a troubling one, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
but we write it off. And things that I brought up, and the reason why I brought them up is what writes it off. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter because she's a mouse and she's chipmunks. So at the end of the day, it's just lust, not love. Get over it. And it's like, no, that's kind of worse. Like, she's just a trophy to win, to, like, prove their dominance over the other one. And then, like, we'll move on, but also we'll all still live in this treehouse together.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, and that's the thing that really kind of got to me this weekend, right? Is you're not wrong. Like being able to sit down and experience this stuff on a regular basis. And let's face it, even though things like Chip and Dale and Tailspin and Darkwing Duck have all been on DVD for the last how many years, I haven't actually, like, sat down and even watched the ones that I own. I watched them when I first bought them a bunch of times, and then they went back away again.
So I kind of, like, so much Tailspinning. College.
Yeah, but, like, I self-edited my life, and that's another thing that people do that this app is not interfering with. That's not the right way to put it, but it's making it easier and easier and easier for that kind of stuff to keep living in a way that some of it doesn't really need to. So it's like I've hit this weird point where I'm really happy from a historical standpoint, from the nerd in me that loves, like, movie history and all that. I love that the app exists. The fact that things are not locked away in a vault anymore is really pleasing, right? Except that then there's the progressive part of me that wants to be like, oh, but some of this stuff should probably not really necessarily be this easy to get a hold of. Like, I don't want it to be burned and never touched again. But the fact that somebody had to go out of their way to find, like, a copy of Cadet Kelly, that was a natural barrier to some stupidity living on that I was happy existed before that no longer does, right? And on top of that, the Disney fan in me is a little like I really remember loving this stuff and don't want to not love this stuff. I have no desire to come around and end up, like, hating Disney Channel original movies. I don't want to be that guy. So, like, I also need to, and again, maybe I need to practice some self-editing. I'm going to probably hold off on just rewatching everything on Disney Plus now. What does that say as somebody that also wants to have the app? Like, do I maybe not have the app all the time? Do I just buy into it every time I want to see something?
And that's the big question currently with Disney Plus. And I think it's the question that a lot of people have. Before I go down that road, let us never say that our show is not hyper thematic, because it really feels like what you're discussing and what you're experiencing with Disney Plus, and in terms of, it's a more wholesome thing. So yours is, in a lot of ways, a more dangerous pill. it reminds me of what I went through when I binged through the Kevin Smith like oeuvre to get ready for Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Is that like it doesn't change the fact that like this independence and seeing this as a high schooler helped me become, you know, more independent and get out there and like be okay with the things that interest me. But that doesn't change the fact that through the lens of 2019, this shit is awful. Like this is not the message that we want to put out there. Exactly. And in terms of like where I had to draw the line was the Clerks animated series, something that as a kid I watched all the time.
Yeah, the 6 episodes I watched on repeat like for all the freshman year of college.
Yeah, like it was like kind of all I watched. And then like I always lamented that I couldn't like go on Netflix and just watch it or like it wasn't on Hulu or it wasn't just available anywhere. So then when I was digging up all my copies of the movies, I dug that up too. And, you know, I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm done with Dogma. So now, chronologically, it'd be the Clerks animated series. And I got like 10 minutes in before I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, I liked it because it was a way to, like, spend time with these characters that meant something to me at the time. But it's not, like, the animation's kind of janky. The stories aren't great. Don't get me wrong, I love a good Last Starfighter, like, homage.
Right.
But it's buried under so much other, like, I don't even know.
Yeah, there's a reason that some stuff gets buried. Like, that's the lesson, Yeah, like, there's a reason that some stuff is hard to get a hold of. And, like, the people out there that just want access to all things, everything, all the time, like, I support that. I'm glad those people are out there fighting for like certain movies to be released. The fact that we can't ignore history is important and things like that. But there's also this element of just like the context in which you consume something is important. So what kind of context are we allowing these things to have when they're kind of like mass dumped out like this on a so-so application that, you know, in some ways I have a lot of issues with the ways that it does kind of hide some of its content, because the stuff that it is hiding is kind of unfortunate, like the original DuckTales series. Don't hide that. Hide more of like fucking Lizzie McGuire, like, you know, it's the context in which the stuff is being received right now is not great for me personally. Like I'm not happy with the way that it's being kind of fed to me, and that's unfortunate. I don't know what I want instead. I mean, I can't sit here and like armchair like devise an app for them, but like but I know the way that it is right now, I'm starting to feel a little overstuffed, shall we say, to stick with the Thanksgiving theme.
Solid. And I guess a step further in terms of the Lizzie McGuire thing is that's one of the ones that they're talking about a reboot and a like continuation, and that makes me nervous in terms of everything that you just talked about.
Yeah, in style, it is one of the first frenetic shows that really kind of existed for kids. You know, the new style of children's show where like things are just happening every second, something new character, new plot line, that plot line's over, new character,
the sound
new character.
Effects fucking kill me. I like that. I never liked that.
But Lizzie McGuire is one of the first shows to really kind of push that. So the fact that has become the norm now will actually help it greatly. You know, like I think it would do well if it comes out in the next year or two. After that, who the fuck knows? Who knows?
Yeah. And also, full disclosure, I have still in my room the Lizzie McGuire telephone alarm clock combo that I won from a Disney Channel like contest.
That's amazing.
So it's definitely something that I watched, but it was one of those things where I never really got the mass appeal of it. Like everybody would be talking about it, and I'm
the
like,
point where it got an in-theaters movie. Like that didn't happen.
I didn't see that friggin' movie. That friggin' Prince and the Pauper ass movie, right? Like that's what it is, right?
I almost wonder if the movie might be worth rewatching as like if you want some Lizzie McGuire, this is the best version of it.
This is the distilled version.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also remember 8th grade where like DComs became huge, and I'm just like, and I like remember right now to listen to me and like, you know, I've seen them all. Like they're okay, but everybody else being like, these are the best entertainment in the world, and I'm like, no, I'm in 8th grade now. There's so much more I want to be doing than
I've been
this.
watching Since it was ABC Sunday nights, motherfucker.
I've been watching since Under Wraps.
I've been watching since. Don't look under the bed. Don't tell me this shit.
Don't look under the bed is the 5th one. So that makes sense based on the difference in our ages. But yeah, it's you know what it is though? It's you can't be mad at Disney. You can't be upset with Disney for providing the app. What we need to do, and it's something that you and we can sit here and say we need to do it. I don't know of any way that you or I could ever achieve this goal that I'm about to say that we should be like aspiring to, is to teach people that just because everything from when you were young is available doesn't mean that's the only stuff that you need to like consume.
For sure. Again, self-editing is key, and learning to self-edit is important. You know, not to put all of the onus on like individual humans, especially because not every human is capable of making their own decisions for various reasons that, you know. So like it's just that is the thing that is really important right now with all of this stuff. Yeah.
And I mean, I think that, and it's the thing that I think a lot of people saying, I don't understand the value of Disney Plus. Like, It was exciting that first week when I'm like, I can watch all this stuff again. And then it's like, but this is really it, huh? Like, this is all the stuff that I can watch.
I am very happy, though, to be that house in the friend group that still has it. Because I think that's what's going to happen, is I think a lot of people are going to fall off of it, but every friend group is going to have that one person. Every family is going to have that one person that still is on it, and they use it. They'll use it off of that friend. They'll leech off of that friend and that family member. I don't mean that in a bad way. They'll do, you know, like...
They'll do viewing parties, I gotcha.
Right, or they'll share passwords, You know, I don't know what I don't know if Disney's what their policy is on signed-in devices, but like the way that Netflix does it is you invest in a $16 plan and 4 devices anywhere in the world can access Netflix at the same time. So like dad pays that, and then the 2 kids off at college join in, and then that leaves a free one for if mom wants to watch on her device. Like that, if they're using that, or at least that mentality, like I think that's what is going to happen. Is a lot of people are just going to have that one that kind of floats around, and I'm happy to be the household that is floating their password around, because I will watch it probably more than most people, because that's the kind of person that I am, the kind of consumer that I am. And I'm more than happy to like push things on people. Like when I'm just like, oh man, just on the Disney app, they just put up like that Captain Falcon shit. You got to see this shit. Like I'm in. So I'm not going anywhere, but man, like this weekend made me realize the downside of it. You know, I was still in rose-tinted glasses last week, and I think that was pretty obvious, but I wanted to assure everybody that I'm not completely lost to this thing.
Right. And I mean, I still haven't watched The Mandalorian, and I keep saying that I'm going to do it.
I can't believe it, man. You got to.
At this point, I'm thinking I'm going to wait till the 4th, 5th, and 6th episode are available. I'm just going to watch those, and then like 20 years from now, I'll watch 1, 2, 3.
Nice. Cute.
Like, it just seems like the way to do it. I don't know. Just something about Star Wars. And
all joking aside, I am actually thinking about watching all of the Star Wars before the new one comes out this year. I've got to decide if it's worth it to me or not, because this is also Christmas month. We are doing some Christmas watching this month.
I have the most Christmas that I've done so far is yesterday while doing like a cool, I don't know what I would call it, because it's not a pub crawl when you're in a car, but like we kind of like brewery like bus around Rhode Island, and we listened to Have Yourself a Meaty Little Christmas, and that's just such a great album. Like, nice. It was just fun. It was just fun to do that. But like in terms of Disney Plus, what we did, and we're gonna roll back the clock just a little bit to the night before Thanksgiving, where thank you, Wayne's World. Please don't sue us, Lorne Michaels. My plan for that night was to just watch a ton of movies in the theater, because like I have a backlog going back, and also all the new movies that I would usually see on Thursday night were released on Tuesday. So it's like, okay, so I can still be at home and do stuff with my family on Thanksgiving, but this night before, it should be our night. So we finally got out to 21 Bridges.
Nice.
Which I really, really enjoyed 21 Bridges. I don't know how to feel about it coming out in November.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to come out in September, and I think in September it really would have done well, especially since the weekend that it was going to come out was the weekend of the 27th. So it would have been up against Abominable and initially The Hunt, but then The Hunt got pulled from theaters and like buried underneath all of those ET carts.
That's a sweet spot.
That would have been like, there would have been nothing else for it to compete against. Instead, they drop it the same weekend as Frozen 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the one kids movie, like Abominable. You drop your kids off to Abominable, and then you go to 21 Bridges. You go to 21
Bridges, exactly.
You don't do that with Frozen 2. You go and see Frozen 2.
Yeah, and it's definitely not one of those. And the whole argument was they showed it at San Diego Comic-Con, and people were like, "This is really, really good. Like, we're excited for this." And they're like, "Oh, let's not drop it in September then. Let's drop it in November." And like, I don't know who is behind it. Like, I don't know if Disney had any hand in it, and I almost wonder, and it's this real fear that I have, that, like, they are now controlling the landscape so that...
movie? Is that what the deal is?
What?
Is it a Fox movie? Is that what the deal is?
I don't know. Is the Russo brothers produced it? Like, that was the whole selling point, was that it was produced by the guys who brought you Endgame.
Sorry, just trying to follow your conspiracy theory here. I see the connection now. Okay, so Roosters, yeah.
So I don't know if Disney was involved in it at all. I mean, it's this great cast: Chadwick Boseman, J.K. Simmons, Taylor Kitsch was in there, which that always makes me think that Disney might have a finger involved because of John Carter of Mars, which not available on Disney Plus yet.
They make sure that guy keeps getting work. Well, yeah, that's because it's still up on Netflix. There's some stuff that's up on, like, or Wreck-It Ralph 2 is still not available on Disney Plus because it's on Netflix.
But I was just like, I could watch John Carter finally now that I have Disney Plus, and I'm like, I can't. That's weird. Am I disappointed? No, but I thought about it. I thought about you, John Carter. But yeah, so it's
everything
just like
Prince of Persia wanted to be. But anyway, keep going.
But yeah, so it's just one of the things where I'm like, did they shuffle it to the same weekend as Frozen so that like it would fail? It just like it got my head spinning in some like things, especially since the whole movie is all just conspiracy theories. That's not a spoiler. Like from moment one, you're like, who can I trust? Can I trust Chadwick Boseman? He is Black Panther.
It's a crime thriller, man. Like, yeah, you can't trust anybody. Conspiracy is abound for sure. No, I think it's just poor old white dude marketing sensibilities thinking, here's a big kids movie. We should also have the adult movie going up against it because then we're covering all of our bases. It's just that's it. Plain and simple.
I also wouldn't be surprised if November has historically been a Marvel month as well. Like, you had the Thor movies, and you had Doctor Strange. So they're like, this is, like, Marvel adjacent. Let's put it in November, and we'll grab it. Even if it had gone up against Charlie's Angels, like, it would have dominated. But putting it out the same weekend as Frozen 2, I'm like, I feel bad for this movie that I've been excited to see.
You're making me real sad because at this point in time, there's a timeline in which we got to see a Sonic movie by now.
Yeah, I know. I'm right there with you.
And it was a good version of that movie. I want to see the unedited version of Sonic.
Well, anyway. I like this reveal that like those were the only finished Sonic stuff, and like that was all just placeholder Sonic for that trailer. Yeah. So it doesn't look like they had to redo the whole movie. Of course, they could just be saying that so that there aren't calls for gloved Sonic edition. We don't want the glove cut, but...
Also, they don't want to be catching shit for the amount of work animators clearly had to put in to save that movie. Like, they can call it placeholder all they want. There was some finished shit there that definitely took somebody a lot of time to redo. But anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so we saw 21 Bridges, and then I was all about seeing another movie, and Queen and Slim was starting in like 20 minutes, and I'm like, that's perfect. I really want to see it. But Dale's like, I can't do another movie because that movie 21 Bridges hit her hard, and I get why it hit her hard. It is a hard movie. It's in the same like echelon as Black and Blue that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where just like you don't feel great at the end of it.
It struck me as a little bit like Inside Man. Like, did you ever do Spike Lee's Inside Man?
Yeah, I like Inside Man. It didn't really remind me of that at all, but
not mostly... like reminded me of it as a film, but as a genre. Like the African American led crime drama was like a Queen Slim almost fits into the same thing, actually. I mean,
right, yeah, which is why I was like, this is a perfect doubleheader, right? Like,
yeah,
we're sitting at this genre. I don't know. I guess Inside Man, all I ever think of is Clive Owen, and I know that's awful, but like that's you say Inside Man, I think of course
I forget he's in that. I
Spike
think Denzel
Lee,
Washington is the cop.
But then I think of Clive Owen, cool, because he's the titular Inside Man, isn't he?
Which is a best spoiler alert, but Jesus, like that is. I'm not a big spoiler dude, but man, that was okay. I'm gonna stop making a big deal out of it.
I've never even seen Inside Man,
oh,
so
man. Oh,
I just know that because I worked at the movie store when it came out. But so then it's the night before Thanksgiving, and there's one place you don't want to be the night before Thanksgiving. Would you care to venture a guess, Sejohn?
A turkey farm. I don't know.
Well,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, and hopefully you have the turkey before the night before Thanksgiving. You don't want to be at a local bar in the town that you live in.
No, because everybody has come back from wherever the fuck they've moved away from you.
Yeah. It's like a high school reunion without the photo booth. And, you know, since Coventry is already kind of like a high school reunion all the time, it's one of those situations where, all right, well, if we're not going to see a movie, like, it's 7 o'clock, I still want to do stuff with the night. But we can't do anything in Rhode Island because Rhode Island is special. It's always been special. I have believed this ever since I wrote Slether back in 2004, that Rhode Island is just one small town.
Yeah,
Family Guy does that all the time.
We would be a county in any other state. Yes.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where we just can't be in Rhode Island tonight. Because even if we just stay in Rhode Island but not in Coventry, we're gonna run into somebody.
I can't ever go back to Rhode Island.
that we don't want to see today.
Yeah,
the
for sure.
The night before Thanksgiving. So we decide to go to the town we were born in, Leominster, Massachusetts. And we went to a Hooters on Route 9, which that's a problematic thing in 2019. You know what I realized at visiting Hooters the night before Thanksgiving? The O's in Hooters, the eyes of the owl, they're boobies.
This is the day that Devon became a man, everybody.
It was last Wednesday, but I'm just like, oh God, I didn't realize that, like, I go to Hooters for the chicken wings, right? And
You're
I mean that
you're the guy that goes. I'm not even arguing whether or not
you know
do
that.
I know you do, but you're the guy.
Because, like, as we're sitting there, a table comes in of, like, obviously all these guys that, like, I'm like, there but for the grace of intelligence go I. Because it was so just like the group of people I was hanging out with in high school, college. Like, there were just connection, like, counterparts to people that I was hanging out with. And I'm like, oh, look at these guys all getting together and sitting there like, Jaeger bombs.
You are the Scully and Hitchcock of this podcast.
I'm both. That hurts a little. But yeah, so I'm just trying to eat their wings and, you know, watching shows, and it's fun. But the more important thing is, while we were driving, I referenced one of those moments in The Simpsons that I really like. And it's when they're trying to think of a name for Bart. And she's like, we call him Larry. And he's like, no, they'll call him Larry Ferry. And, like, they go through all this, and then she's like, Bart. And he's like, let's see, Bart, Cart, Dart, E-Art. I don't see a problem. And it's like, well, obviously he stopped before F. Like, that's the one joke, is that, like, E-Art is very funny to me.
E-Art, yeah.
But it's also, like, this nice moment where it shows that Homer's gonna be, because it's early Simpsons too. It's before Homer becomes, like, a god who just mocks the world with his invulnerability.
Yeah.
And lack of consequences for his actions.
No, he actually literally has vulnerability in the early seasons, which is what makes him a much more interesting character.
Which makes the show enjoyable. Is the reason why people, like, clock out after season 9 of The Simpsons. And it's one of those things where I'm like, it's this really nice moment where, like, him and Marge are not sure if they're ready to be parents, but that, like, forethought that he doesn't want his son to be made fun of because of his name has always like really spoke to me as like, no, you're ready, Homer. Like you're already considering this kid's life well before it will be an issue.
Yeah.
And Dale's like, I don't think I've ever seen that episode. And I'm like, oh, we got to watch it. So I think that it's Lisa's first word. I think that it's part of that one. Because Lisa's first word of the baby episodes is my favorite episode.
Yeah.
And no, it's not that one. So I'm like, all right, well, check in Maggie Makes 3. Maybe it happens like when they found out that Marge was pregnant. It's not that one either. It's I don't know the name of the episode with Bart where it's season 3 episode 12. And it's the one where, you know, they find out they're pregnant with Bart and they think that they're pregnant again, that Marge is going to have a 4th child. Like that's the whole framing device. Mm-hmm. But we didn't watch because I was driving and I'm not a monster person who watches television while I drive, but we booted up the Disney Plus app and we listened to those episodes of The Simpsons. And I got to tell you, that was awesome. Like, it was really awesome to have that as an option, especially because, and I mean, I've told the story like 4 or 5 times now because it was like what Thanksgiving was about. When I was a child, my mother was like, I don't want you to watch The Simpsons. And I was an asshole. I was an asshole even then, even when I was a baby. And so I didn't watch The Simpsons, but I listened to The Simpsons. Like I'd put on the channel and I'd cover the screen. So it's like, I'm not watching The Simpsons.
Oh my God. That's not the most symbolic thing I've ever heard in my life of just you as a human. That's fantastic.
I think the better thing, my favorite part about it is like, that's good. But then my mother's like, I don't care if you watch them. I don't want you to hear what they're saying. So then I watched it muted, obviously. Like stop giving me ways around this, Ma. I am a mighty river. You dam up one tributary, I will find a place to flow.
In all seriousness, I would never fuck with your mom. I'm just saying.
No, yeah, yeah. And that is the greatest lie the Deckers ever told. Because, Devon, I'll have to call your mother. Oh no, please don't call my mama. please don't call my mama. Don't throw me into the briar patch.
Oh God.
But yeah, so that was fun. And yeah, and that's it. So then, you know, that's what we did the night before Thanksgiving. And then on Thanksgiving, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it before. We stopped doing like a family Thanksgiving, when I got back from Carnival. 'Cause like, it was just easier to be like, we're away for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, plus you guys have a really fucking baller solstice party that, like, I think that covers your bases pretty well.
Yeah, it's very true. So it's like this situation where they're like, yeah, like, so we'll go away for Thanksgiving. And then like one Thanksgiving we realized, oh, we could just say we're away and just go get steaks at a local steakhouse. And that was the birth of Steaksgiving. Nice. Though I am discussing, because the reason I don't like calling it Turkey Day is because it's about being thankful for what you have. Like, that should be what Thanksgiving is about. So I'm thinking about calling it Thanksstaking. It's in committee.
There, don't you?
I do. I want it there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The lyricality of Steaksgiving might win out over any intention.
Steaksgiving is just, we've been calling it Steaksgiving since 2012. So I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, so we went to the Double Eagle Del Frisco in Boston. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And I had a 32-ounce steak.
Oh, I'm so jealous of. I mean, if you're gonna go to a steak place, like you're.
Well, that's the thing. It's like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I kind of want this, and I'm like, but am I ever gonna come back here again? Like, is this an event? Is this an occasion? And I'm so happy that I got it because it's their signature steak. It's their Double Eagle 32-ounce ribeye. It comes out on a cart, and they carve it table side, and they give you 3 special salts. And recommend, like, start with this one, and then as you're getting to the ends, like, switch to this one. Like, it was a whole presentation. So it added a bit of theatricality to Steaksgiving that hasn't been there in the past.
That's pretty awesome, actually, man.
Yeah. And it's, like, to the point that, like, other tables around are like, oh, my gosh. What's happening at that table?
Yeah, man.
So
I mean, that's why you do something like that. Like half of it is for the attention you're getting from everybody else.
yeah,
It's flambe is the same way.
flambe is the same way. That's a good T-shirt. But yeah, so that's what we did for Thanksgiving, and then we just vegged out the whole rest of the weekend. I took Black Friday off, and we just watched TV, and like we went to Burger King. Which don't go to Burger King on Black Friday. That's gonna be the Devon Decker tip of the week.
Nice.
Because they were not prepared for Black Friday at that Burger King at all. But yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend, and I feel like I had something else that I wanted to share, but it's just escaped my mind. Oh, the Guild, where we went to drink while you were here. Yeah. I found out something really cool about that place.
Yeah, okay.
And that's that every beer on the menu is made locally there.
Dev, it was a brewery.
No, but I know that it's a brewery. Okay, I know that it's a brewery, and I go to breweries a lot. But a lot of the times with breweries, they're like, we share with other breweries, like we feature stuff from them. And the way that the Guild's menu is set up, it has stuff that has a Guild logo, but then it has other logos as well.
Yeah.
And I thought that meant that those other logos were like partnerships with other local, maybe smaller breweries who don't have like a huge bar space to use.
Yeah.
But it's like a super club. It's like Mardi Gras. It's like the new Mardi Gras is the Guild in Pawtucket.
Yeah, man, that was fantastic. Yeah. And everything they made in house is delicious. So
I'll give them some free advertising, because the one other thing I wanted to do is that since we talked about the birch on last week's episode, I had so many people contacting me in real life being like, so how do I watch the birch?
Yeah.
Because you sold me on watching this show.
Yeah, so how do I go about this?
How do I go about doing this? Is it free? Do I have to pay money? So
not clear.
It's not just that. It's just one of those things where like apparently I can influence things. So go to the Guild. Just don't go on Sundays. I want it kind of slow on Sunday so I can unwind from the week.
And the birch is on Facebook TV. Just go on Facebook.
Facebook Watch. You can watch it. All 14 episodes are done. It's good. It's a good show. I really like it. Anything else? I finished Jedi Fallen Order. Continued to be awesome. Like I really hope that after Rise of Skywalker, if they continue telling Star Wars stories, they move away from the Skywalkers.
Well, I think that's the plan.
I certainly hope so, because experiencing stuff like, it's a fun universe that they built. So like, why do these people always need to be there?
Mm-hmm. No, as somebody that's been just fucking binging the shit out of The Mandalorian, like I'm right there with you, man.
I don't know. I haven't watched The Mandalorian yet. I was going to watch it for tonight, but that's the other issue I have with Disney Plus, right? To like bring up a long dead conversation topic is the fact that I don't love that it's like episodic release schedule.
Yeah, I get that. I know a lot of people who have, and this seems to be the thing with streaming media, is people are just never going to be happy, because I know a lot of people that with the dropping everything at once, that was overwhelming to them, and a lot of people that didn't want to watch series because it wasn't doled out. You know, a lot of the Marvel series didn't get watched by a lot of the people that I was around at the time because of that sort of mentality. So I think there are some people that have been asking for this sort of stuff, but I think Netflix has kind of dipped into this sort of stuff from time to time. They still do it with Patriot Act as like a good example, and it's not nearly as successful for them as the things that they can just drop all at once. And for the artists, it's not nearly as, like, one of the selling points of going to Netflix is that you get to do this whole thing at once. So Disney's whole thing, where it was made all at once, they have it, it's done, it's in it's not being made currently, but their attempt to just kind of drop it bit by bit is definitely something that's been grinding my gears as well. But I think there are some people out there that think they like it still, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely one of those people who, like, I don't want to watch the Marvel shows because it's so much all at once. But let's be honest, that was me just, like, making up an excuse for me not really being interested in the shows. Yeah, I will say that. Like,
but it doesn't help if you're not into the atmosphere and it's 13 episodes in front of you. No, but if you're not into the atmosphere, but there's only 3 episodes in front of you, you'll dive in. You'll try it, and then if you don't go back to it, you have a written in excuse of, well, when I watched, the other episodes weren't up, and I didn't want to make the effort to go back. Like you're lacking that way out. You know what I mean? And so you're just kind of daunted by 13 episodes because, like I said, I totally get it when people say that the binging every episode at once thing is sometimes a little too much, but
yeah, but
determining what things should be dropped one way or the other is. I don't envy that task.
Yeah, it's a special skill to be able to figure that out. But I think what I've realized is, like, when BoJack, like, I like BoJack, and there was a day where I just sat and watched all of a new series of BoJack. And I'm like, all right, so it is clearly I need to enjoy the thing if I'm going to binge it. Because I've binged other things, too. Like TBS shows, I used to be able to do those in, like, one sitting. Like The Detour or the first season of King of the Nerds. Also a very problematic show. Let's just, like, be honest while we're talking about. I mean, it's really just Louis Skolnick. Anything that Carradine is in, it just feels a little hard to watch. Knowing what we now know about Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's what we always knew, but it's like, but that's not funny. That we shouldn't be laughing at that.
Yeah, man.
Okay, but also
I will be very interested in hearing how the episodic release stuff goes for sure.
Well, along that same thing, because I did allude to it, and I'd like to just see how you feel about it. They're saying that to understand the next Doctor Strange, you are going to have to watch Loki and WandaVision.
Both shows? Both
shows are going to be canonical to what's going to happen in that series. Like, now these series, because they're by Disney, on Disney, they are tying them into the larger MCU proper. How do you feel about that?
I bet I will believe it when I see it, because I think it's going to come a lot. I think it's going to become a lot like having to see every Marvel movie to enjoy an Avengers film. My mother, God bless that woman, can't retain anything from a movie. From, you know, like she, if it's something she's really into, she will. But I cannot tell you how many times we watch like Ant-Man and we had seen it multiple times. And she's like, wait, I don't remember this part. Or like we'd go and we'd say, and she'd be like, who is this character? And I was like, Mom, they've been in 3 movies. So like, there are people out there already kind of dealing with kind of not being in the loop. It's like when the early Marvel like movies were coming out and everybody was kind of just like, I don't understand who this character is. And your friend was like, well, in the comics, it's this guy. Like you kind of needed to have a buddy to get some of the deeper stuff that was going on. That didn't stop people from still getting into those movies. And I think it's going to be the same thing here. Not everybody that enjoys those movies is also going to have sat down and consumed these shows. I think they're going to do just fine. Now, that being said, the fact that they're going to make an effort to make them mean more to the MCU writ large, I like that part. One of my biggest issues with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is how much it tries to be part of the bigger thing, but the bigger thing doesn't acknowledge it. And so, like, if this is a show doing what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does, but that also mattering in the movies, that's pretty cool. So, like, I like that. Also, at the end of the day, like, it's Disney trying shit out with new stuff. I mean, how often do we get to talk about Disney breaking the mold in order to, like, try something new? Like, we rarely do. So that's pretty cool, too.
Yeah, I'm excited about the blazing of the trail. I think what scared me and what you have assuaged with your opinion on this is I didn't like Daredevil or Jessica Jones, or, you know, I didn't even try Luke Cage or Iron Fist. I will just be honest with that. That, like, because those ones didn't appeal to me, I didn't continue with them. So what makes me nervous is if these things are truly, like, you should consume this as it's part of the MCU, and it doesn't work for me, like, I don't want to be that way with something that actually matters. Like, no offense to Daredevil and Jessica Jones, especially, like, actors in those shows that I absolutely love. Like, 100%. Like, Kristen Ritter, huge fan of Kristen Ritter. But I just was not interested in that particular story.
Well, and you not liking them doesn't take away from the fact that they are hugely influential pieces of media on their own. Right. Even though so, like, but you don't need them to watch the movies.
Exactly. And, you know, you bring up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I enjoy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's not just that, like, Marvel can't do TV. It's just that those specific ones on Netflix didn't work for me. And that's not to say that, like, I watched that first episode of Daredevil, and when it showed all the people on the rooftop at the end, and I'm like, oh my God, I know who all of these people are because I read comics. Like, this is awesome. And then, like, it kind of dragged its feet a little bit, the show, and Kingpin didn't show up for 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like reading that today, I'm like, well, people seem like they're making mountains out of molehills with that. Because, of course, they're going to say that, because if they can get people to join Disney Plus now while it's still cheap for the Black Friday special, like, they're going to do that. They're going to want to get your money, and it's a good way to get people, like, invested for a year, knowing that, like, well, there's going to be those 2 shows I got to watch if I want to enjoy Doctor Strange a year from now, so
I think they would have been better. Yeah, I think they would have been better served saying, if you're excited for Doctor Strange, we encourage you to watch these shows because what they do in these shows is going to be important. But like by saying like you won't understand the movie unless you see these shows, that's the wrong way of looking at it and selling it. So if that's what they're trying to sell it on, like boo, like that's not the way to go about it, because no filmmaker in their right mind is going to go in and make a movie that doesn't make sense on its own. I mean, even sequels, like a really truly good sequel should be a good movie unto itself. So like
I mean, that's why The Godfather Part 2 is such a successful movie.
Yeah.
Like, because it sets the stage very nicely.
Well, I mean, to keep it in the realm, it's why Winter Soldier works so much as a film, because so much has changed at the end of Captain America with him coming to the future that he's basically resetting. He's relearning the world. You get introduced to him still as this naive character. Like it unto itself is just a fantastically packaged picture. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I agree. It's just the other issue is, and it's a larger issue with how media works now, is that's definitely clickbaity stuff so that you'll read that article.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that, like, you'll have to watch WandaVision in order to understand the villain of Doctor Strange 2. It's like, well, someone's going to read that, they're going to click on it, and then, like, they just got your ad revenue because they got your click.
For you to basically be an ad for Disney.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So that's also what we just did, kinda. But I just wanted to talk through that in less clickbaity terms, like what that means. Like, that's true. And it's also inspired by, I was wearing my Infinity Tour shirt where, like, it's Thanos playing guitar, and it's all the locations from the Infinity War movie. I like the shirt. It's a good shirt. And someone's like, hey, where the hell was Adam Warlock? And I'm like, he's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, they introduced him. And he's like, yeah, but you know what I mean. I'm like, I think you're upset that he wasn't in Infinity War, but, like, don't act like he doesn't exist in the MCU. Well, you know, and I'm like, please, I don't want to talk to you about this. I read this book when I was a kid. Like, you can be upset about the movie, but, like, it's 2 years removed, man. Really? Then, of course, I'm still kind of disappointed about The Last Jedi. And that's what would keep me from going through to watch them all. It's because I really don't have any desire to watch that one again. At least not now.
I'm so excited to watch that one again.
Yeah, see, and that's where we differ. Is that, like, it just... I'm excited to see Rise of Skywalker, and maybe after I've seen that, I'll watch all 3 together the way that I have the other 2 trilogies. But I don't know. It's just, it always still feels like that big, like, shock. It's like such a plot shock going from Force Awakens to Last Jedi for me. But hey, that's me. And that's my opinion. And if you want to yell at me about my opinion, you can feel free to find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And if you've got any Disney Channel original content that you think I should actually dive in and enjoy, you can hit me up at Siege vs. the World.
Everything I'd suggest to you is, like, not on there. Like, and I keep finding that, and it's like, oh, that's disappointing. I really wanted to watch Flash Forward. That's not really the one I was thinking of, but it's the one I could think of that's not there.
I'm very excited that you mentioned it. Jet Jackson for me. Jet Jackson
isn't on Disney Plus. You're not. Oh my God, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, that's what did it for me. That's what made me realize they don't have everything.
I think it's weird that, like, Schnookums and Meat isn't on there, even though if they could erase Schnookums and Meat from the record, I'm sure they would.
They got Crash and Bernstein.
Yeah. All right, Will, get us out of here before we embarrass ourselves with more Disney Plus show titles.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.